By for his victory lap. All he's got to do is make it by, and he is the champ. Born Horse, nobody else going to make it, so Born Horse is your winner on his victory lap here. And the battle shaping up here on the final couple corners. Who's it going to be for second and third? Finish the lap you're on. And here they come. It's going to be Tessman edging out Steez by a tenth of a second, and Boots going to finish up in that second spot. Couple more to finish. Let's cheer him on. Here he comes over the Bud Light double. Team Teckno running Proline rubber from New Philadelphia, Ohio. It's Joe Bornhorst.
Oh, snap! Joe Bornhorst, Team Teckno. There is your 2019 Truggy Pro A-Main Silver State Champ, Mr. Bornhorst, rocking this sexy, sick-ass whip. What's up, Nitro Nation? Yeah, I know some people, watch the racing. Well, what does that mean to bashing? It means dick. That's what it means. It means nothing. Although I follow it, because I want to see what the big boys are running. What are the bigs dog? Because remember, the main reason that I even follow racing, nitro racing at all, because it really doesn't have a lot to do with bashing, except for one thing. Okay, and this is a fact. You can't take an RTR or something that's set up for bashing, or the quality-wise, you know what I mean? Like a Traxxas or like a low CRTR or something like that. You can't. You can, but you can't just take it the way it's set up, and you can't race it. Okay, but you can take something that's race proven, like a Mugen 7, like a Teckno NT 48.3 Truggy, race Truggy, okay, and build it into a sick ass, one of a kind basher. Okay, I can race either one of these things with the change of, obviously a few things: tires, shock oils, diff setup, certain things. Okay, obviously motors. I'd have to put the pea shooters in these things, the .21s. I call pea shooters. Couldn't run these big things in here, not racing. Although there is one track that I want to go to, where I called them and I asked them, hey, can I run modified motors and bleed pipes, sick, whatever. And the guy told me, he goes, yeah, you can run whatever the hell you want, as long as it's not racing going on. So there are certain days, and it's kind of hard because, I work. So, it's to fit it into your work schedule, because I think it's only certain days during the week where you could actually come run modified motors because, of the club racing and the weekends and all that. But I am looking into it, trust me. If I can go to and this is a track that Adam Drake, if you watch in his videos, called Revelations, he runs there. Adam is not that far from there. Adam Drake's not that far from me. He's like maybe 30 minutes from where I live. He's a local SoCal boy. So anyway, that's something that I'm looking at. But to get back to what I was talking to, I can take these vehicles here and I could race them. Now, something that's not race proven, or something that's like an RTR or a Traxxas, like my XTM, I couldn't. I guess I could, but I'd get my ass spanked. I couldn't race that thing. Even this sick-ass OG old school buggy here, looking all sexy, by the way. I got the AKA tires on there, mounted. I've got the rubber bands on here. I'm still letting the tires cure. I got to take those off. I usually, after I'm done gluing my tires on, I let them cure for like a day or two before I even would run it, if I was going to run this. But I'm not going to be running this thing anytime soon. Because focal point for me right now is my Truggies. It's time for me to start running my Truggies. By the way, by the time you guys see this video, right behind it should be hopefully a video. The next video will be of me brapping. Okay, so this is kind of the pre-brap video, and then I'll kind of do a little commentary, as I'm brapping as well. But, you know, the main thing that I wanted to talk about on this video here is a few things. There's a few things I actually am starting to write down shit so I remember things to talk about. There's a few of my Nitro brothers that have been struggling, having certain issues, and at the same time, I want to take you guys for a closer look inside of my whips. And I've never really, I don't think I mean, you guys have seen my whips and I've showed them to you, but I mean, as far as in one video where you're actually going to take a look at the Muggy Maniac, what he's got cooking inside of his whips. I'm going to take you through my whips real quick. I mean, hopefully it won't be too long, but I'm going to take you through my whips, show you what I've done, where I'm at on my whips, maybe plug a little bit of plans that I have, things that that I'm going to do to the whips, because to me personally, you're never done. There's no such thing as being, the only thing that I'm pretty much done, even though there's still things I can do, but it's cosmetics, is the Muggy. Okay, but just the parts, certain things that I want to get for the Muggy are just like, they're hard to find and they take forever, and they can be pricey just because they're rare and they don't make them anymore. So anyway, like I said, there's a few issues that my Nitro brothers that that I'm going to address, kind of see if I can help them out. But again, you can't take something that's, not really for racing or and just be competitive anyway. So anyway, that's why I got these vehicles, because if I wanted to race, and I've been thinking about it, getting back into racing, that I could race with either one of these vehicles and could be competitive. I wouldn't get my ass spanked. Now, if you've got older vehicles like the low Cs, the old, I mean, those things are old now. I mean, you can still race them, but yeah, even Dakota Fenn in this Silver State, he was doing okay in the truggies for a while, but he eventually got his ass spanked. I mean, he got past. I mean, he couldn't hold. I mean, he was in first for a while. I think he was running one of the fastest times and truggy and buggies this weekend. But obviously the wheels fell off somewhere. I mean, I think in the buggy and the truggy main, Dakota Fenn, he races for Team Losi, was the top qualifier. He was running all the fast times. He was doing really well, but he didn't even make a podium this weekend. It's kind of crazy. I actually wrote down, I mean, who won this weekend. Obviously Teckno, in truggy Teckno, X-Ray, and S-Works. So if you're gonna race, and let's say you're thinking about racing your truggy or whatever, that's the reason. One of the reasons like I said, what does it mean to bashing? Nothing really, except for, like I said, you can take any one of these sick whips that are race proven and win week throughout the year, are constantly winning pros and so forth, and you can turn it into a serious basher. Now, if you're going to get into racing, or if you're somebody that's thinking about racing, well, definitely you want to pay attention to what's running out there, even in the pros. And I mean, these races that you watch aren't just pros. There's amateurs, and there's there's A, B, C, D, E. I mean, there's every level. So, and as far as all the levels, this is what was winning this weekend: Tecknos, X-Rays, and S-Works. So, I mean, if I was a guy that was looking to build a truggy and I'm going to go racing, well, that's probably what I'd be looking at. Teckno, Mugen too. I mean, those are the top. Those are the top dogs that are competitive. Everybody else is, they're associated, low C, hot bodies, but as far as what went on this weekend in the races, they weren't competing with Teckno and X-Ray, and and even Elliott Boots, man. Again, that guy just got transferred or whatever. He was racing for Kyosho. Now he's with S-Works. So Kyosho lost some heavy hitters, man. I don't know what they're doing, but it doesn't change the fact that Kyoshos are still top quality and race proven, and Kyosho have won more championships than all the manufacturers put together. So that's one of the reasons that if I do get another buggy, it's either going to be, I've narrowed it down finally, and I'll tell you guys, it's either the next buggy that I get, it's either going to be a Kyosho or it's going to be a Teckno. It makes more sense for me to get a Teckno because I already have the truggy. And I don't know if you look around and you see guys on YouTube, guys like Raja, guys like Bodagel, you know, if you got to run a truggy, you might want to get the buggy to it. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'd probably want to be one of the first guys that I've seen on the tube that has 2 sets of truggy buggy. Now, Raja has his associated buggy truggy. That makes sense. Because you can swap parts. It's way cheaper to do it that way. It's way smarter. I mean, if you have an associated truggy, then you might want to have the associated buggy as well. Or vice versa. If you have a Mugen buggy, you might want to have a Mugen truggy. Do you kind of see the pattern there? Okay, Bodagel has the Losi buggy and the truggy. Raja has the associated buggy and the truggy, because you can interchange a lot of the parts. The only difference, and I don't know, some guys know this, some of you guys probably don't, FYI, the only difference between a Nitro 8-scale truggy and buggy, okay, is the length. That's it. The length of the chassis and sometimes the width is the only difference. Okay, so then obviously the arms are going to be different, front and rear, upper and lower. But other than that, all the stuff, the internals, the diffs, and you know, everything else in it is pretty. It's the shocks. I mean, the shock towers. Obviously, a truggy is going to have, you know, different shock towers. But other than that, there's not much difference besides the width and the length. Okay, as far as truggy and buggy. That's why a lot of guys will get both. I have this Mugen MBX7, even though it's far apart from the truggy, because that's, I mean, from the buggy, because the MBX5 is obviously, you know, 10 years or 12 to 14 years between this Mugen truggy and my buggy. But still, trip out that some of this stuff will fit, and I put it on my buggy. I don't know if you guys know that or not. Some of you guys might, but this MBX5 buggy, looking pretty sexy, by the way, I might add. This is mine. This is, by the way, this is since I'm over here showing you guys this, we might as well get into this. We'll show this whip in a second. You know what? Before I get into showing my whips, let me address the issues that, before I show you guys my sexy whips, the issues that guys are having. Now, one of the biggest ones, I think probably the most important one, is my brother, Mr. Nitro Bird, I think it is. Nitro Bird. Is it Nitro Bird? Okay, now, Nitro Bird has an issue where he was taking apart an engine. Now, let me tell you something. Now, whether it's used, new, doesn't matter. Okay, I've had plenty of used, plenty of new, different size motors. Been there, done that. Never, ever, ever have I had any stripped hardware on the motor. I don't buy them that way. People don't sell them that way. If they do, that's pretty shady shit, but I've never heard of it. So if you buy a used motor, chances are that the hardware's not stripped. Unless somebody is, which isn't the case, unless somebody is permanently selling or purposely selling a motor with stripped hardware. Because nobody strips hardware. Because most people know that that shit is crucial and that you got to be very careful, and you don't just get in, jump on a motor and just start tearing it apart. You got to be delicate, man. It's a delicate piece of fucking machinery, man. And I tell guys that all the time. You know, have I come close? Yes, with the Novarossi 28.8 and the Novas. Because as you guys know, Novarossis are the only motors that don't have hex hardware on them, as far as the backplate and the cooling head when you take it off. So you have to use a very, very sturdy, sharp, flathead driver. Preferably one forged or hardened. Okay? If you don't, you will strip those out. And I've came close because I didn't obviously have better wrenches and huddies and you know, stuff like that when I first took apart a Novarossi 28.8. Okay? And I almost stripped it out. Now, so again, I've had tons of them, and I've never had them stripped out. Come close, but never had. I never bought any like that. And I'm talking used motors, beat up motors. I mean, I've got tons of used motors, and I've still got, I mean, these used motors here, an XTM, there's an Offline. I mean, you know, I've never had hardware stripped. And the only reason that you're going to strip hardware out is you're not using the right tools. That's why I got to emphasize to you guys, man. If you guys do not invest in a set of MIPs, you're asking to strip shit out. I guarantee you Nitro Bird, and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't using an MIP to take off he was using some whatever. If you don't use, and I only, especially on my motors, and if you've invested in a motor that's expensive and you've got it modified, you're talking a $400 or $500 motor, and you strip out the head screw in it, you're fucked. I mean, I don't want to sound like that's an absolute if you strip out a head screw or strip out hardware. Now, if you strip out a back plate, it's a little bit different because it's easier to get to. Okay? But still, if you have to drill into that motor, you need to be careful. And once you drill that screw out in the motor, those shavings are going to get inside of your fucking your block, which means you have to pull the complete motor apart. And I'm not talking just the piston, the rod, the crank, and all that. I'm talking you need to remove the fucking bearings. Okay? The bearings have to be pulled out. If you don't have a bearing puller, which I don't suggest, I won't fuck with the bearing. I don't have a bearing puller yet, and I plan on getting one. They're not cheap. They're around $100 for a good one. You don't want to get a shitty one of those either. Novarossi makes one. It's $200. It's as much as a fucking motor. But anyway, you need to get a bearing puller, and you need to pull those bearings out. Because if you get any little, I'm telling you, any little, nitro motors have no room for error. Not even a, excuse my language, a cunt hair. Okay? Or a pubic hair. They have no room for anything. If you get any type of shaving in there and you run your motor, you're going to destroy your motor. Guaranteed. It's only a matter of time. And I'll tell you, this motor here is the only motor that I've ever blown. The XTM .25, basically, that comes stock. That's the only 25 that I ran. And it was a good motor. It was a pull start bullshit, but it was a pretty good motor. It was my first. That came in the XTM Mammoth ST Muggy here. Okay? I cleaned that motor, and the reason that motor blew is because I was cleaning it with a swab, and I believe what happened, because when I pulled it apart, a tiny piece of a little cotton swab, like I'm talking micro fiber shit, okay? Maybe, I mean, real minute, you know, a cotton swab like this, a tiny little piece of it fell in the motor, got in the motor somehow when I was cleaning it with a swab, okay? Because I found a little piece there when I pulled it apart. And that little tiny hair is what blew the rod through the side of that thing. So, again, not to get too much on this, because it's basic fundamentals, okay? As far as, and I will tell you, if you do have to drill into that motor, you're going to need to tear it apart completely, pull the bearings out, clean it out, clean everything thoroughly, and then lube it and put it back together before you run it again. If you don't say I didn't warn you, you will destroy that motor. So anyway, if you don't use MIP tools, if you don't own a set of, and then listen, this is coming from somebody, the Muggy Maniac is the most, as far as when it comes to spending cheese, I watch my pennies and I know how to, you know, I'm not one of those type of guys that I can spend money with the best of them, and I can dump tons of money on shit that I really don't even need, but I want, okay? But at the same time, when it comes time to hunker down and tighten it up, the Muggy Maniac is like, I'm like very good at that, okay? At you know, knowing where I can cut, where I can pinch my pennies and where I can't. And I pinched pennies on tools for a long time, man, and I got tired of stripping out shit. And I'm glad that I never stripped out of fucking anything on my motor because of cheap tools, or I would have been fucking pissed. So do yourself a favor. Go on eBay. You can get the three main ones that you're going to use mostly. 1.5, MIP, 2.0, 2.5. You can get these three. They're all over Amine for 40 something bucks. Brand new, shipped to your door. Now, if you want the extra, the 3mm, which I suggest, that's going to run you about 20 bucks by itself. They just, for whatever reason, they don't include it in a set. I think some hobby shops, I know some of them, you can get a full set of these, all of these, for like $100 bucks or something. Like I said, that's a lot of money, but it's, you know, I'm telling you, spend the $40 or 40 something bucks on those three MIP drivers, man, and you will not be disappointed. And you will probably not use any of your other tools. I hardly use a lot of my tools. I mean, I use my tools, but I know when it comes to vital hardware on my whips, you know, certain things like chassis, hardware that holds like your motor in the chassis, especially stuff on your motor, the head bolts, the back plate bolts on your motor. I don't use anything on that shit but MIPs. I've got Huddies and I've got other tools and I've got dynamite tools and stuff, you know. I won't use that on that shit. Hell no. You know, because I'm not going to risk stripping out something like that, because that's serious shit, man. So anyway, hope Nitro, it wasn't Nitro Bird that was having the issue, I believe. I believe it was Lights Out. That's who it was. I'm sorry. I get names mixed up. Mr. Lights Out Jones. I believe it was Mr. Lights Out Jones that was having the issue. Or whoever. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm bad with names. So you know who you are. If you're having that issue with that your motor screws stripped out, be careful, man. Okay. I mean, I've never had that issue, and I've opened and closed and rebuilt many motors, new and used. And I'm telling you, you will strip out hardware if you don't use MIPs eventually. Okay, you might get away with it for a while, but eventually you will. Okay, and if you have the person that stripped out plenty of shit, it's because you're using shitty tools. So I don't know. Some guys come on my channel and they're giving advice about, and you know who you are, and you know we talk all the time, and I'm cool with this person, but he just has he always lets his mouth right, checks his ass can't cash. You know, okay? So he made the comment, well, blah, 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 blah. I've probably, excuse me, Mr. Muggy Maniac, but I've probably dealt with more stripped out hardware than you have. Well, so what the fuck does that mean? You just told me that you're a fucking idiot because you strip out shit all the time because you're either using fucked up tools, you're not using MIPs, or you don't know what you're doing, okay? Because I've opened up and closed many more motors than you've ever seen in your lifetime, okay? And I've never stripped out nothing, ever, okay? Came close, like I said, but I never have. Used, new, doesn't matter. Use the right fucking tools, people, okay? I don't know how to emphasize this enough. Use the right tools and be careful. If you do have to drill anything into anything out of a motor, you're gonna have to tear the whole fucking thing apart if you do that. If you don't tear it apart and clean it, you're risking destroying that motor. So do what you want. I'm just putting that out there, okay? And for you know who, I mean not you know who, but you know who I'm talking to. You know you're gonna watch this video and you're gonna know who you are, okay? And I'm not gonna put your name out there because I don't do that type of stuff. You know what I mean? I don't have to. You know who you are. You know, just be careful, people, who you take advice from. If you take advice from somebody that's messed up something so many times, well, you probably won't want to take advice from that guy. Sure, he might know how to fix it, but that also tells me the same thing, that he doesn't know what he's doing half the time, or he wouldn't be stripping out shit. And don't make excuses, oh, well, used motors sometimes. No, I've had plenty of them. Never. Okay, so unless you're an isolated case, and I know plenty of guys that never have that issue either. Use the right fucking tools, be careful with your when you're wrenching on shit. And if you strip something out, especially something like that, just keep in mind you have to be very careful. And I mean, me personally, if I stripped out a bolt, unless it was one of my modded motors, I would have a hard time drilling into it. And if I did drill into it, I would definitely have to pull the whole motor apart and clean it and put it back together. So anyway, that's enough of that. I think I spent too much time on that, but it is a pretty important subject because people get that shit might happen, and if it does, man, I feel for you. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I've been talking to John. I haven't talked to John, Mr. Jean Bodegel, for a while because he's just so busy, you know, and I sometimes he can't get back to you. I mean, the guy has 100,000 subscribers. You know, but I've known John for a while, and he was one of the main guys that helped me get into Nitro, and he's helped me every time when I've been stuck on stuff and when I have questions. And so anyway, I've been talking to him recently, and he was telling me, man, he's got his Novarossi 28.8 modified and his .32 old school modified before they started coming out with the fucked up sleeves. That's modified. Those two motors, he's got about 8 gallons of fuel through those things, and they're still running strong. Still got major pinch. That's crazy. I mean, that gives me hope. I only got 2 gallons through my modified motors. 8 gallons. And you know what fuel he's been running those 8 gallons through and never had an issue with? Byron's 3011. So should I say anything more? Any questions? Ask him. Byron's 3011 for life. That's the only fuel I'll run, and the only fuel I'm gonna run. Unless I can't get it, then I don't know, but I'll have to call up John if I can't get it, and he'll send me some because he's got cases of it. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. And by the way, John's doing well, doing his drag racing thing, and you know, so I mean, continue to watch. I watch all of his videos, whether they're about Nitro anymore or not. I just like watching his videos. You know, I'm loyal to the guys that help me out when I needed help, and you know, he doesn't matter whether I watch his videos or not. That's not going to make or break him. Okay, but there's such thing as a loyalty, and I'm loyal to guys that help me out. I watch Raj's videos whether I race or not. I don't even race right now, so most of his videos are about racing for the most part, but I still watch him because I support guys like that because, you know, Raj's my boy. He's the only other Nitro guy out there that's kind of active on the tube. So anyway, shout out to Mr. Za. Thanks for the help, Mr. Za. And I was telling him that I will be building 2 motors that I want to build are modified 28.8 Rex Legend and a modified LRP .32. But what I want to do is what I'm process of doing is I'm putting in a DLC coated crank and ceramic bearings in both of those motors. So I will have a modified Novarossi 28.8 Rex Legend and an LRP .32 with a DLC coated crank in both of them and ceramic bearings, and they're going to be both modified. I don't know if I'm going to run end bleed pipes on them. I'm thinking about it, but it's just the whole end bleed thing. You know, you guys know I don't want to get into that. We'll talk about that another time. But anyway, so shout out to Mr. Za. Shout out to Raja doing his thing. Shout out to my other brother that we talk all the time. Just haven't talked in a while. I know he's busy too. Mr. Elite RC, my brother from my 5th scale brother from another mother. So let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Associated. One of my brothers. I think this is Nitro Bird. I believe that's Nitro Bird. Got an Associated. It looks like, you know, I mean, it's got all the goodies. I believe. I don't know as far as he's gonna race it. If you're going to race it, you know, I mean, talk to Raj about racing. All I know is I know buddies of mine that race those Associated, the same truck you got. What you might want to invest in is a lot of spare parts. They break shit all the time. Those things aren't very durable, you know, but, you know, some people, you know, have bad luck. Some people don't have issues with breaking anything, you know, but that's just what I've heard, you know, so I don't know. I don't own one. So if you're coming to me as far as the Associated truckie, I can't help you because I don't have one. So you might want to ask Raja about that. Anyway, Another thing I wanted to touch on was blah 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 blah. Another guy, when you get that Chewbacca sound, you know, the when you're brapping your shit and you let off and you get that Chewbacca sound, or the motor sounds like it's still running on the high idle, all that shit is your low end needle is too lean. You need to richen it up. It's starving for fuel, that's why it does that. So I know a couple guys have been having issues with that. So yes, your bottom is too lean. And as far as when you're running in these different weather conditions, just remember, on bigger motors, you can run 5, 6, 7. You want to run cooler plugs, especially in the summertime. But you can run on most nitro motors anywhere between a 5 and an 8 plug, somewhere in there. Like I said, it all depends on the weather. If it's hot, I suggest running a cooler plug. If it's cold, obviously run a hotter plug. I don't get into the ultra hot plugs like the 4s and the 3s, I think, or the 4s. Those are really hot. I ran them and I popped them. So I don't go below 5. 5, 6, 7, 8. In between there are the plugs that I run. So anyway, what else? So yeah, your 2019 Silver State Truggy A-Main champ is Joe Bornhorst. Now this guy's been racing for Teckno a while, and he's always up there in the top 10. Even in the standings in the world rankings, he's up there. But he's always coming up short. He gets second, third a lot, but he hasn't run first in a while, so it's pretty cool. So I know a couple people are thinking about getting, well actually there's one guy, Mr. Woogie, shout out to Mr. Woogie. He is thinking, he's doing this, he's decided, and it's kind of cool, he's decided that he's going to go Mugen, but he's just trying to decide on Mugen or Teckno. He wants to do what I do. He wants to get one of these and bash the hell out of it and set it up. Now I told him, if you're going to buy either one of these whips, I got them, remember, used, in great shape, but I got them used. They weren't brand new. It doesn't matter if you buy them new or used. When you buy a vehicle used, you're going to tear the thing completely down. So it's going to be at kit form. I'm talking chassis all the way down. Shocks apart, diffs apart, everything. And then clean it up. Put the oils in it that are going to, pertain to what you're running, whether you're racing or you're bashing. And then build it. So it's no different from buying a used and new. The big difference is the money. If you buy this vehicle here with what I have in my Truggy, well, let's look at the sexy MBX7. Okay, now when I got this thing, okay, it was a roller. It was in great shape. But when I started taking it and tearing it apart, the hinge pins were corroded. Certain hardware, outer drives, had rust on it. So I had to polish all that shit out to get it into mint, shape, brand new. I mean, this thing is better than new. Like, I know people that have MBX7s brand new, and this thing is in better shape. Because the Muggy Maniac is OCD when it comes to maintaining his shit. And you guys already know that. So, I mean, I polish every little nut and bolt. I mean, when I get hardware, hex screws that got rust in the inside, and then it does happen sometimes, I polish that shit out. Because I ain't having that on my whips. What do I use? I'll tell you what I use. All I do is I get my little Dremel wire bit here. Bzz, bzz, bzz. There you go. Polish right out. Because I ain't having rust or corrosion on my shit. So anyway, when I got this thing as a roller, I paid $300 for it. Okay? Had nothing on it. It did come with a lot of extra parts. So when you are looking at used vehicles, look for the ones that come with extra parts. Make sure you look at the pictures and check everything. I showed you guys that one. I mean, you can see where some of them had like that one. I mean, look at the front end of this thing. Okay? Do you see any rust or corrosion? Hell no, you don't. You never will. Okay, this thing is, you guys already know, I maintain my shit beyond new. I challenge anybody out there to show me your whip or show me a video of somebody that has a cleaner whip than mine. Oh, by the way, I did throw the carbon fiber wrap that I use on my bodies on these mud guards. Looks pretty cool, huh? I think it turned out pretty sick. Like I said, the only problem with these is because it's got that little round notch in it, you have to heat them up and press them on. Just heat them up with a heat gun a little bit. But they came out pretty cool. So anyway, I paid $300. And then by the time it was said and done, I put about $1,000 into this. Okay? If I was to buy this thing, build it, kit is $700. And that's just the kit with nothing. A brand new roller, MBX 8 or a 7, is going to cost you $700. But on an 8, by the time you get it to your door, you're talking 800 and some change. No motor, no electronics, no pipe, no rims and tires. You'll get a body, but that's about it. You don't get any of the upgrades. I've upgraded, the things that I've upgraded on this Mugen: aluminum, king heads, chassis brace. It's kind of hard to see because it's all black. Carbon fiber top plate. This is your servo saver plate that braces the front end. Now the reason I put this on here and the front chassis, the chassis in this is going to keep you, if you wreck your shit and you don't have a carbon fiber top plate and an aluminum chassis, what's going to happen is the impact will shove your drive shaft into your center diff and fucking destroy it. Now if I wouldn't have had an aluminum chassis brace and the carbon fiber top plate like that you see here on my buggy, and I have, you know, the same on my truggy, this thing, both of this vehicle and the other vehicle have hit walls head on, top speed, because of servo switches. If you guys are running switches on your servos, hey man, be fair warned. I don't give a fuck. I know people that run switches, and I know people that don't run switches, so you do what you want. I'm just telling you from personal experience. If you run a switch on your shit, you take the risk of that switch taking a shit. And I don't care if it's, you know, the high tech and the little ones that have the digital thing. I don't give a fuck. I don't use switches. I've had this vehicle twice, and no, once, maybe twice. This vehicle, same thing, twice. Run away from me because switches went out, so fuck switches. I do not use switches. I plug my batteries, and sure, I might have to pop off my little receiver cover. I don't give a fuck. I plug my batteries straight in to my receivers. No switch. No little bypass wire thing. None of that bullshit. Because there still could be an error in the connection. There is no error in connection when the battery plug is going straight into your receiver. No ifs, ands, or buts. Okay? You do what you want, like I said, but that's the Muggy Maniac. I don't run switches. I run my battery directly plugged into my receiver. Period. End of story. So anyway, if I wouldn't have had the front braces that I have on here, I would have destroyed the whole fucking my center diff, because your center shaft, the impact will fuck your whole center diff up. You will do a lot of damage. So if you're gonna bash racing, you might not need it, even though I would do it anyway. If you're gonna bash any vehicle, make sure you get a fucking either aluminum, carbon fiber, or graphite. Preferably aluminum or carbon fiber, top brace servo saver plate, which is this, and an aluminum front brace. Or risk fucking up your vehicle if you crash. So, like I said, these are just suggestions, do what you want. So anyway, I changed that. The carbon fiber comes with these as far as the radio tray. Obviously, these are the servos I'm running on this. I'm running the JX1 for steering as I like it. This servo is less than $30. This servo here is a SCO254MG Savox. This is like 30 something bucks for this servo. So it's a low end servo, but I've only had one issue with these, and Savox will replace your shit. If you ever have an issue with Savox servos, contact them. They'll replace them, no questions asked. Lifetime guarantee on all Savox servos. Okay, so I run that on this, on the throttle. Obviously, I'm running the motor saver and the outerwear, so I've got both. That's going to run you $50, but it'll fit under the hood of the Mugen. So I suggest if you got a Mugen, get a motor saver and an outerwear, not just an outerwear. I suggest on any motor you have, if you want to really take care of your motor and you really love your motor like I do, get yourself a motor saver and outerwear. Don't just get the outerwear and use the regular filter and put the outerwear. I mean, get the whole deal. Guaranteed, man. It increases power. It's been dyno tested. Okay, you can ask Mr. Za. He even hates the fact that he can't run this full system, filter system, on his low C8 truggy because it won't fit underneath his body. He can only run the outerwear. I run both. Okay, man, I've only cleaned this thing once in what, almost 2 gallons now. This is the lowest maintenance filter, and if you're a guy that's lazy, as far as when it comes to cleaning, you know, you have a hard time, you struggle with that, okay, get yourself one of these because you don't have to clean it that much at all. Obviously, I'm running the 9886 Nova pipe, 41032. Now, another thing I want to talk about on pipes, a 41032 and a 9886. Okay, and I was just talking to John, Mr. Za, about this too. This setup will enhance stock, but it's a waste. This setup is for modified. If you want to let your modified motor open up and scream and breathe, that's why you run the 41032 and you run this. If you were going to run a stock, if I was going to run on the Novas 28s, I'm telling you, 053 Platinum Dynamite, the header that comes with it is the best pipe, period. This motor stock loves that pipe. So if you have this motor and it's not modded, I suggest 053 Dynamite with the header that it comes with it. That's it. Perfect. Modified one, 28.8 Rex Legend, this setup. I still am getting, I'm going to get the Triton 2148 nasty ass pipe because I want to see what it does. I know it's been dyno tested and so forth to outperform this and pretty much close to the end bleed. We'll see though. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm running that pipe. That's as far as the pipe systems, that's what I suggest. But anyway, that's what I'm running on this. You know, I run the Novarasi. These things are, man, these things are, you can spend anywhere from $20 to $30 on a cooler. I use it. I just make sure that I sealed both of them because sometimes they can leak. I've never had a problem with them. I'm running this braided line here to keep the heat from, you know, because you're getting heat off your pipe. That way I don't have any issues with the lines getting hot. The only other upgrades I've done, titanium turnbuckles, obviously. The rear chassis brace, again, is a King Heads. Okay, keep in mind, if you get a King Heads rear chassis for this MBX7, this is made for the buggy. You're going to have to drill a small hole, it's not a big deal, small hole in through your chassis to mount this onto your chassis. Okay? And other than that, you know, I put the mud guards on there, and like I said, I put these carbon fiber covers on it. Got the Badlands and the DE racing rims, the 4-inch DE racing rims. And then obviously we've got the sick-ass custom muggy paint job on here, Joker body. And that's the MBX7. Now, the Teckno, a little bit different. You know, I paid a little, probably about, I didn't pay much more. Now, the thing on the Teckno, when I bought it, again, the guy raced this thing too. He raced it. It was in very good condition, the pictures that I seen. And if they don't have make sure you tell them to send you pictures. Check everything. Check the pictures as far as you want to look at the front end, you want to look at the drivetrain, you want to look at the outer diff drives, because those are where the corrosion and rust builds up. Okay. The only thing you're not going to be able to see is you're not going to be able to see your hinge pins. And trust me, most of the time, when you take those hinge pins apart on used vehicles or people that owned them before, they're always corroded. People just don't, I don't know why, man. Why don't you guys clean that shit? Do you know that makes a difference in your fucking, the way your suspension works? I mean, this shit moves up and down, right? That's why the hinge pins are on there. Because it moves, right? Well, fuck. Every once in a while, you need to pull out all your hinge pins, okay, that hold on your arms and that hold on your C-hubs or whatever, and clean those things. My hinge pins, man, they look the same as the fucking, these turnbuckles like this. That's how my shit looks. Oiled and smooth as butter. I don't have any corrosion. Because by letting them get corroded like that, your vehicle's not going to fucking function right. So anyway, when I got this thing, it was in great shape. Clean condition. Okay, but when I started taking it apart, again, the hinge pins were corroded. You know, the guy, I think I don't know where he lived. I think he lived in Carolina somewhere. You know, I know the guys are in different weather conditions. But anyway, it was still in great shape. I paid like $3.25. I paid like, I think, $25 more as a roller for this than I did the Mugen. But this thing came with way more parts. This thing came with like a couple extra diffs. It came with extra arms. It came with extra gearboxes. I think I've got of these radio trays, I've got like 3 of them. I think the thing I like about the Teckno is this whole side, like everything here, this whole piece, where all the radio gear is and shit, all this completely comes off. It's pretty cool. It's all one piece, and this shit is solid as anything. I mean, so don't worry, because people will say, well, it kind of sucks that this is all one piece, because if you get a side impact, it's going to fuck up your... Well, it's not, trust me. This plastic is like 5 millimeters thick. It's thicker than the shock towers, or as thick as shock towers, this plastic. So somebody can ram me from the side, and it ain't breaking nothing here, trust me. Teckno knows what they're doing. When they built these things, they built them like a tank. Just ask Joe Bornhorst. By the way, again, you're looking at the 2019 Silver State A-Main Teckno or Truggy Champ vehicle. Now, this isn't... Bornhorst probably doesn't have as much shit on here as I do, although I'm sure he has better electronics and he's probably got titanium everything. But a lot of that stuff, you know, as far as braces and all that, you don't need for racing. Now, I did do a few upgrades to this one. I suggest if you get the aluminum top plate here, this is 7075 aluminum. That ran me a pretty penny. It wasn't cheap. Okay. Again, this vehicle, I'm running both on the front steering and the front throttle, the Savox SEO 254 MGs. The speed on these are like 10. They're not real quick, but they're not slow. They're plenty for bashing. Now, if I was going to race, I would upgrade the servos, definitely. The torque on these things are like 2 something, which isn't a lot, but it's enough. I mean, I never have a problem with them. So, I did change the front drivetrain. You can't probably see it down in there, but it's aluminum. The stock little thin ones that came, drive shaft, were like 3 millimeter. These are aluminum. They're a lot lighter, so if you know about rotating mouse, they're a lot lighter. And they're, I think, 1 millimeter thicker. Okay, and I run the same ones. I got rid of the thin steel one in the back, and I got this one. This is also aluminum. Way lighter, and it's also strong, anodized 7075. Has less flex actually than the steel one, because the steel ones that come with this thing are real skinny. I didn't like them. They look like toothpicks. I mean, they were like freaking the equivalent of this. I mean, this compared to that, yeah, I don't want that as a rear dog bone. Especially when I start jumping this thing and getting, you know, hardcore with it. But this is aluminum. Plus, it's light, man. So, I mean, it already has one of the smoothest drivetrains on the market, but it's even smoother now. Now, that's one edge that Teckno does have, because both these vehicles, if I had to choose, it's really hard because I love them both. They're both great. They're both well put together, well built, easy to work on, very durable, very efficient. They handle like freaking amazing. I'm a shitty driver, and both these vehicles here make me like drive like a pro. And I'm not lying either. That's the truth. But anyway, the one difference that the Teckno has and the edge that it has over the Mugen, and when I get the CVDs changed, because it has the universals right now, when I get them changed on that, it might smoothen it up, but I don't think it will still be as smooth. This Teckno has the smoothest drivetrain ever. I just barely spun it. Butter. Like, this thing is butter, money, whatever you want to call it. Smoothest drivetrain. So, which when you have a smooth drivetrain, man, you're getting more efficiency, longer run times. The thing handles. I mean, you're not losing any power. All the power of this Pico .28 modified is going into the front and rear. But this is the motor that I'm keeping on here for now. When I do get the LRP .32 modded, it will run in both of them, and then I'll decide which vehicle I'm going to leave it in. More than likely, I'm going to keep the LRP modified in the Teckno. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the Pico then. I might take this modified Pico and I might throw it in the Muggy. I don't know if the Muggy can handle it. It might wreak havoc in there, but, you know. Or just have it to, you know, I can run it in my buggy too. Or save it for my next whip. My next vehicle that I purchase. You know, I'll at least have a badass modified motor to put in it. But it's in here for now, and we did take a shim off the head, so I'm going to see when I run this thing. Probably not till next weekend. What I'm going to be running here shortly, in the next few hours, will be this thing. So I want to get that Novarossi 28.8 Rex Legend dialed in, just like the Reds, because that Reds is money right there. So that's the benchmark, and all these vehicles are going to get dialed in like that Reds. Okay, so anyway, the Teckno, yeah, and other than that, you know, it came with carbon fiber mud guards, which is cool. I don't know how much these are. I'm sure they're like 40-50 bucks. They're not cheap. And then, you know, again, motor saver, outerwear, both. Titanium turnbuckles. I think I changed. They didn't have titanium. It didn't come with them. Titanium turnbuckles. I upgraded on those. Obviously lighten it. Badlands again. DE racing rims, but these are the white ones. So that's pretty much the set. Oh, and obviously, again, the Muggy Maniacs custom JC Concept body. And I suggest JC Concepts just because they're very, very thick. They're thicker than Pro Lines. Okay, but anyway, that's the sick Teckno. So yeah, those are both of my whips. The only other whip that I'll probably show you guys have seen it plenty of times. There's not much for me to show you. I just showed it to you. I mainly wanted to show you my Chuggies, because I know I got more guys on my channel that are Chuggy guys. There's not a lot of buggy guys, but if you guys are buggy guys, you can find plenty of these. If you want a sick, bashing, badass buggy, okay, that can pretty much handle any motor you put in it. And I put a lot in here. MBX 5, Prospect, or 5R. There's plenty of them on eBay. I can build you one just like this with all the carbon fiber, all the titanium, thicker shock towers than even my Chuggies. Okay, everything except for, you know, the motor. But I can build you a roller like this for less than 300 bucks. Easy. And I'm talking mint condition. Brand new. So, if you're thinking about getting a buggy, I suggest getting a buggy. It's just part of, you know, part of the Nitro arsenal that you want to have, because they're fun, man. And this Mugen, even though it's old, man, I never regret getting this thing, and I got a smoking deal on it. I mean, and you know, I'm gonna put a brand new chassis on it and upgrade the shocks, and other than that, there's nothing. Now this is where The only thing that I'll be doing to this thing maybe in the near future, it will be cosmetically. After I change the chassis and the shocks, upgrade the shocks and put a brand new, stock chassis on it, just a brand new one. There's nothing else I can do. It's got all the carbon fiber, titanium, aluminum that you can possibly need. Even I've got titanium chassis braces on it. The only thing that I'll be getting more is probably bodies and tires. Nothing. This will probably be something that will be, that I won't have to I'll just have to upkeep. There'll be nothing to upgrade. Because I've replaced pretty much everything. Okay? Brand new Mugen shocks, the newer shocks. Okay? The 17 or 16, whatever millimeter. The new, same ones that I have on the MBX. These same ones here. Not these are for Truggy. But, I don't know, I might run these same exact shocks that are on here. The same, if I can get them for a decent deal, I might run them on here. Put them on here. And then with the new chassis, there's nothing else that I can do to this thing. Everything else is money. So anyway, it's a sick buggy. It's got everything. And like I said, there's plenty of MBX5s, man. They're good, solid bashing vehicles. Now, as far as racing, I don't think they would compete. Matter of fact, I know they wouldn't compete with a 7 or an 8. Who knows? I might end up getting a 7 or 8 just for the hell of it. I know a lot of the geometry changed, but maybe. We'll see. But I want a Kyosho, really. Because I know they're the top when it comes to buggies. But I should probably get a Teckno. That way I'll be the first one on the tube that I've seen that has 2 buggies and 2 truggies of the same make. 2 sets, not 1. So anyway, that's all I got. If you guys want to know a good way to clean your shit, take Simple Green, 50-50 mix, 50 water, 50 Simple Green. Heat this shit up. Put it in like a glass bowl. Don't put it in plastic. Put it in something glass. And heat it in your microwave. Get it nice and hot. Put it in a tub. Drop your dirty ass plastic or aluminum, whatever, parts in there, and it will just take off all that grease. And all you got to do is maybe scrub, depending how bad it is, but usually you don't even have to do that. Air it off, silicone it, money. This is the easiest, safest way to clean. Okay? And that way you're not watering down your vehicle and there's getting moisture in places where you're not going to be able to get it out. So anyway, and yeah, obviously the Muggy Maniac's got the Tabasco and the Tapatio on deck, because that's how I roll in my cave. Tapatio, Tabasco. What do they go good on? Somebody asked me, well, what are they good to put on? Anything. So I think I covered everything. So yeah, so if you're going to get a used vehicle, man, you're going to save so much money. And I know some people will say, well, I don't want to get somebody's garbage. Just be careful when you get it. Ask for them to send them pictures of everything. Okay? Send pictures at it. Take a look at it. It's real easy to see. Is it in good shape or is it not? Is it all beat the fuck up? Then get on. If somebody won't send me pictures, if they tell me, oh, well, pictures are already up there, I said, no, I want pictures of this and pictures of that. If they can't send me those pictures, then peace, I'm out. On to the next whip. I don't care. I'm not going to pick up somebody's bullshit. Okay? You can look. You can see pictures. You will be able to take a closer look. Ask them. Show me pictures of this. I want to see what the inside drives look like. I want to know what the inside hubs look like. Are they all rusted? Can you show me the bottom? Because certain guys, you'll see whips that only show certain pictures, and usually it's like that because they don't want to show you the fucked up part about it. That's when you call them out and ask them, okay, I noticed I didn't see pictures of this part of the vehicle. Show me that. And if they don't want to show you that, well, fuck them then. Move on. And get a deal that has plenty of extra parts. I'm telling you, man, you are going to save so much money, and it's not any different. Now, if you got the money, if you got $2,000 to build one of these, then go for it, man. Go for it. Knock yourself out, man. If I had $2,000 laying around right now, I would go out and probably buy me an MBX 8 or a brand new Teckno and build it from the ground up. But I don't have $2,000 to pull out of my ass or laying around. And I'd rather put the money that I saved And that's what I did, from buying them this way into motors, into pipes, into tools. I mean, that's the whole idea. If I'm going to be able to save money on a used whip, that I know it's a solid platform, then I'm going to invest in all that other shit. Bodies, tires, rims. I mean, that's where all the money is. Believe it or not, okay, most of the money that you spend in 8-scale nitro is not in the vehicle itself. It's in all the shit that goes with it. All the spare tires, the rims, the motors, the fuel lines, the servos, the upgrades to the titanium. I mean, all that shit. Shock oil, diff oil, motors, clutches, clutch shoes, clutch springs, flywheels, spark. I mean, you name it, right? That's where the money is. It's not in the whip. I've got more money into the shit that's connected around my whip than I do into the whips. And I've got a lot of money into these things. So anyway, that's all the Muggy Maniacs got. There's another hour video. I haven't did an hour video in a while. I figured you guys need an hour video because it's going to be probably maybe so sometime later on today that you guys will be able to get the brat video. But that's the next video after this. So marinate on this video, soak in all this. If you guys have any other questions, I think I covered everything that everybody's been asking me. That's why I took a little bit longer time on this. I not only wanted to show you guys underneath the hood of my whips, but I wanted to kind of address some of the issues that were going on. Man, this thing, even though it's 13 years old, man, like John said on that one video, man, this is one sexy ass buggy. My Mugen buggy is sexy. Sexy ass whip. And we're going to put different motors in here, trust me. I'm going to run a mod motor in here. That's probably the next thing that I should do. Matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do. After I get done running the Mugen, after we get done running, the Teckno, we're going to get into, we might get into the Muggy, but we might not run the Muggy for a while. Muggy's just going to sit here and look pretty. It's conversational Pete. They don't make these anymore. Classic, nostalgic. This thing's got all the bells and whistles that it could possibly need. But anyway, while that's sitting there, maybe the next time we run the, don't quote me on this, I think I might take this baby out, and I think I might pop that Pico in there. Pop that Pico. What's about that? What do you say about that, people? Pop that Pico. I think I ran the Pico in here. Can't remember. Maybe I have. I think I did. The modded Pico. Maybe I might pop the Novorossi Rex Legend in there, though. I don't know. I might do that. The Reds runs pretty good in here, too. That Reds is worthy of running in truggies. Okay, just by the way, I remember in the past I would say I will never put a .21 in my truggies. Unless it's modified. So that's not no regular .21. This is a .21 that's modified. So anyway, that's it. That's all, folks. Alright, man, I gotta get my coffee in me. The Muggy Maniac needs some coffee. I gotta get some food in me. And get this thing ready to do some serious brapping. Alright, people, that's all I got. Make sure if you're not running your shit, put your piston bottom dead center. Okay? After on all, don't jack your shit up. And another shout out. One thing before I go. I was kind of upset that Mayfield didn't do very well in the truggies, but he came back in the buggy. Okay, he finished third. He got a podium, thank God. So my boy Ryan Mayfield, Team Mugen, with the help of my other brother from another mother, Nitro brother, Adam Drake. I'm a Mugen and Teckno guy, yes, because I have those vehicles. That's why I probably should just get a Teckno buggy. I'm looking. I've seen a few deals, and I just might. But anyway, Mayfield got a podium. Shout out to Bornhorst, Team Teckno, way to go, kicking ass, putting that truggy on the #1 spot on the podium. Go Team Teckno. Watch out, people, Teckno's going to come up. They got Tebow over there too. Tebow's spanking that ass too. So between Tebow and Bornhorst, I don't know, man. But the points wise, still the top guys are Ty Tessman, Ungaro. Ungaro was kind of quiet in Team Associated. He wasn't doing much. I mean, he's still number 2, I think. But Tessman's up there too, man. I've thought of looking at maybe after I get my next buggy, I think maybe another truggy. I might end up getting an X-ray. I don't know. I got to look into these X-rays, man, because, hey, if that thing's winning and Ty Tessman's got that thing ripping, and they just came out with a new clutch system, by the way, which is pretty sick. You should look it up. I got to get some of that Teckno, too. Obviously, that thing would be a sick bashing vehicle. So, anyway, I'm out, people. Peace.